what communication is really all about, what interview is really all about. An effective interviewer is an effective communicator.
We see what people do with their words and we can interpret those if we know what to look for as signs that are indicative of the possibility of deception.
Communication is the process of effectively sending and receiving information, thoughts, and feelings. In order to be a successful interviewer, one must recognize, process, and respond to all of a subject's signals. Hello, I'm Catherine McLean for the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. In this 50-minute video, we'll turn fundamental communication methods into tools for the interviewer. We'll examine behavior patterns associated with deception and learn to recognize them in interviews and written statements. As you'll read in our accompanying workbook, communication analysis is a method of seeing human responses as a whole. The interviewer who masters this art can effectively understand what the subject is saying, understand what the subject is not saying, and plan relevant follow-up questions based on the subject's responses. Yet it's not as difficult as it sounds. You probably already possess the knowledge you need to do this. Joseph Buckley, president of John E. Reed & Associates, specializes in teaching communication in business.
Many people operate on a gut feeling when they come out of an interview. They say, gee, I don't think that person's telling me the truth, or I just feel instinctively that something's wrong. But they could really never verbalize it if you were to ask them, what exactly did he do or say to convince you? Well, that gut feeling is really the result of subconscious impressions being sent to the person, verbal or nonverbal.
By bringing these impressions to a conscious plane, we can more accurately evaluate a subject's responses. They occur on 3 levels: body language, tone, and words. Interpreting these 3 together will reveal a pattern. Erwin Sulak is a certified fraud examiner who writes and lectures on communication and interview techniques.
For example, words make up perhaps less than 20% of our total communication, where body language may well make up over half of our communication, tone making up the balance. And in recognizing these various levels of communication and how we communicate, being able to observe body language, being able to observe or listen for tone and listen to the words, a pattern can emerge.
These patterns reveal a lot about motivation and honesty, as hard as a deceptive person may try to conceal them. And the interviewer who recognizes the body language associated with deception is way ahead in the game. Don Rabin is chairman of the Law Enforcement Department of the North Carolina Justice Academy, where he teaches interviewing techniques.
Deception is a learned process, and children learn it as they take on a language. So consequently, when they engage in deception, then they will follow certain patterns that have been learned in affecting their deception. So this, after a while, becomes so ingrained that it's unconscious.
Consciously or unconsciously, we send and receive a lot of information without words. We can often tell how a person feels just by looking at them. What, for example, might this person be feeling? Or this one. You probably know more than you think you do about analyzing body language. Learning to recognize specific physical behaviors will give you clues to a subject's motivation.
When the individual is motivated to tell the truth, they're going to engage in certain types of behavior, and that behavior is going to be observable by certain types of signs. If we were face-to-face with them, we would look at certain things like eye contact, alignment.
When face-to-face with someone who could be trying to conceal something or deceive you, look for the stress symptoms associated with deception. Lying causes people anxiety, and to relieve it, they engage in certain physical behavior patterns. To record these behaviors, we devised an experiment. These subjects have been told to treat our experiment as a job interview, and they expect to be questioned about the work history we provided them. But they've also been told to lie about being late to the interview. Instead of saying they were late because they overslept, they've been instructed to give the following fabrication.
I got a flat tire on the way here.
A blowout on my tire.
They continue the tale with a story about a woman who stopped to help and ended up giving them a ride.
I had a flat tire on the way here, and a nice little old lady stopped to let me use her cell phone. And I couldn't get a hold of you, so she gave me a ride.
Curiously enough, although they have been instructed to lie, they show the same signs of physical stress caused by genuine deceit. Let's look at how their deceptive behavior manifests itself in their body language. Deceptive subjects are more likely to touch areas of the head and face during an interview than someone who's honest and relaxed. When our interviewer, John Fisher Weber, a certified fraud examiner with the Texas State Auditor's Office, offers this subject a ride back to his car, his hand repeatedly goes to his face. He knows he can't accept a ride without revealing that he didn't really have a flat.
Is it more comfortable if I drove you over since you know me?
No, I don't think that'd be good at all.
Did you hear something about my driving? Or?
No, I just, well.
I think I'm going to get a cell phone, too, from learning from this experience.
Okay.
The nose is especially sensitive to stress. When blood pressure increases, tissues in the nose fill with blood. This subject seems especially susceptible as Weber asks for details about the supposed flat tire.
Just, I need to explain that. We time these interviews.
It was just very unexpected. I have a new car, so.
Okay.
There are several behaviors associated with deception that involve the mouth. Look for obstruction behavior like this one. The subconscious goal of this conduct is to impede anything damaging from emerging. Wetting the lips and pressing them together is a sign of stress too.
Okay. Did you put the spare on it, or?
No, I couldn't get the lug nuts off.
Okay.
After his fabrication, he presses his lips together. So does this subject.
Did you lose control of your car?
No, not really. I noticed it and I pulled to the right.
Okay.
This behavior is a simple reaction to tension. Since lying increases stress, mouth movement is an ideal barometer for rising anxiety levels.
Yeah, for a lady to stop in today's day and age, and
I know.
that's incredible.
She was really nice, yeah.
And
Definitely.
a nice car, right?
Nice car.
How many times have we been told to look someone in the eye when we speak? People are naturally reluctant to meet the eyes of the person they're deceiving for fear that their falsehood will be discovered. During the initial phase of an interview, establish what you think is the normal amount of eye contact for a subject. As your questions increase the pressure, look for a reduction in that amount. If a subject is being deceptive, he might look down at his hands or at the ceiling as if trying to remember something. The point, though, is to avoid looking at the interviewer, as this subject does here.
That was an awful nice lady that stopped. Tell me about her and what she drove and everything.
She drove a blue sedan, and we basically just talked about the job interview, and I kind of told her to hurry up.
Note how this next subject looks down throughout his answer to Weber's question.
What are you going to do with your car?
Probably get it fixed, have it towed into a service shop.
People tend to blink more often when they're trying to think quickly, like this subject when asked about the color of the car.
And what color was it?
It was green.
She blinks before and several times after answering. Take another look.
It was green.
Eyebrows are one of the easier facial features to read. When we're angry, we frown. When we're surprised, we raise our eyebrows, just like this man does when faced with an unexpected question.
Actually, my brother was going to go by there and he's got an extra set of keys. He was going to change the tire for me. And
Well, how did you get a hold of him?
good question. Good question. I actually.
Another common way we react to an unexpected question is to fold our arms or cross our legs. For many of us, this is perfectly normal behavior. Yet when taken by surprise, we may cross as a defense mechanism or to buy time to think of an answer. But once again, you're looking for patterns. If the subject begins crossing behavior once the interview starts getting stressful, take note.
For an individual to fold his arms, for example, may mean nothing more than the individual is tired and is looking for a more comfortable position. On the other hand, if his tone, his volume, for example, were to go down demonstrably, crosses his, folds his hands and over his chest, and maybe breaks eye contact, you're starting to establish a pattern.
In nervous subjects, you'll observe what are called manipulators, playing with pens, twisting rings on their fingers, tapping, basically anything to occupy their hands. These manipulators may intensify when your questions become more serious. During non-stressful questions, this subject's hand motions are normal. But watch how his manipulators increase when talking about his lateness.
I noticed you were a little bit late today. What happened?
I had a flat tire.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, I had a flat tire, one of those days.
Which tire had the flat? Was it dangerous?
No, it wasn't dangerous to the left rear. Wasn't dangerous, pulled over to the side. A lady stopped. I called, no one could pick me up. She came and dropped me off, luckily.
Shifting and repositioning in a chair may be behavior used to delay having to answer difficult questions.
If you ask me if I was involved in a particular act and I did it, but I want to lie about it, that may create anxiety that comes out in a gross posture change. For example, you ask me if I took the missing bag of money. Absolutely not. I mean, I wasn't even there that day. And that is a way for me to release some of the anxiety and tension I may be experiencing with my verbal lie.
This subject's posture changes as he's asked to describe the woman who stopped to help him.
I think she had blonde hair, kind of short, really couldn't tell.
His shift in posture wasn't that striking, but when combined with his vague description and uncertain tone, we begin to see a pattern. Humans have vocabularies of thousands of words. The different ones we use and the way we say them are very significant.
Yes, we communicate non-verbally, but through the use of vocabulary is how we, in a sense, navigate through life and communicate with one another, even to the subtlety that we can carry on a conversation and we very subtly signal to each other, okay, I'm getting ready to stop talking now, and it'll be your turn. But no one ever said, now, son, when you get ready to stop talking, change your voice just a little bit and increase the pitch there a little bit, and that way that person will know you're getting ready to stop. But we learn that and we use it.
Tone is the inflection we give our words to express a mood or emotion. By using what you probably already know about tone, you can interpret whether the subject is confident in his answers or whether he's uncertain and stalling for time.
What color was the car?
It was brown.
Delaying tactics like the one we just saw indicate hesitation, uncertainty, and a desire to postpone answering. Truthful subjects are unlikely to formulate their answers that way.
Well, mental blocks are oftentimes exhibited by the deceptive person who knows what in fact happened but doesn't want to tell you the truth. They are making up a story to cover themselves. So they hem and haw, hesitate, stop and start because they want to get it out in a convincing way, but yet not yet tell you the truth. So there's that conflict that's going on inside, and it exposes itself with hesitation, irrational responses, or things of that nature.
Irrational responses like this one.
What did you talk about on the way over?
Just how much I couldn't believe that this happened.
Of all times.
Of all times, on my way to an interview.
What'd she say to that?
She was kind of shocked, giggling.
She was shocked and giggling?
Yeah.
Because she's experiencing stress as a result of trying to deceive Weber, her answer doesn't make sense. She's nervous and flustered, but still trying to appear that all is well. So is this subject.
Okay. Which tire was it?
It was my front my front right tire.
People who are being deceptive are likely to make conflicting statements, like the one this subject makes when asked about the car.
I didn't see what color it was. I don't remember.
It's also common to drop the ball on details. After all, fabrications can become pretty complicated. John Weber catches this gentleman with a very simple question.
Do you need a token for the parking garage?
Yes, yes, please.
When he realizes what he said, he even laughs at his own mistake.
Oh, no, you don't need a token for the parking garage.
No, I don't.
You don't have a car. Okay.
As with body language and tone, we look for change in the subject's use of words. An increased use of modifiers could be a sign of concealment or fabrication.
Modifiers, qualifiers, and hedges. Sort of, kind of, basically, think, thought.
Using modifiers gives the subject more time to think of an answer, as we see here.
What color is it?
It's kind of an off blue kind of color.
Instead of just saying blue, he uses kind of twice to pad his answer. Don Rabin recalls a similar use of modifiers in a suspect's account of an assault.
He's talking about, he said, we were kind of fighting, and we were sort of struggling, and the guy kind of hit me, sort of in my stomach. Well, you know, I've been in fights, but I've never kind of been in a fight.
Nor do many of us have kind of flat tires.
What caused the flat?
I'm not sure. I guess a nail or something kind of ripped the tire up pretty bad.
As Weber's questioning continues, modifiers appear over and over again in the subject's answers. It's this type of speech pattern that signals to experienced interviewers that they might not be getting an entirely accurate story.
Okay, and how long before that lady stopped to help you?
It was a little while. I had to kind of flag her down a little bit.
A further speech pattern to listen for is change in point of view, such as if the subject switches from first to second person.
With second person referencing, what they will have a tendency to do is to start to speak of themselves in second person pronouns. You know, I did this, and sometimes when you get real busy, you'll have a tendency to leave the door unlocked, because that way you don't have to. And what you've got is an individual that, in a sense, they're in the ballpark, but they're not in the ball game.
Repeating phrases allows the subject more time to think of an answer. The phrase "you know" appears 3 times in this subject's answer. As we'll see later on, this particular phrase can furthermore indicate that the subject is seeking validation.
What did you talk about on the way over, just out of curiosity?
I was just told I was, that I was actually coming to an interview, and that kind of telling about what I was expecting, or what I did, and asked her kind of what she did and stuff like that.
Sometimes the phrase itself can be more telling than they intend.
Believe it or not, had a flat tire.
How did you get here?
Believe it or not, a lady stopped.
The phrase precedes a falsehood in both instances. Fragmented speech can be an additional sign of deceit. When caught in a stressful situation that requires them to lie, some people begin to speak in broken, stumbling sentences, often trailing off without finishing a thought.
What will you do about your car?
I guess, I didn't have time to, I don't think I had a spare in my car, so I'm just gonna, afterwards I'll just go get a cab and go get another spare and go put it on.
As the pressure increases, so does his difficulty in thinking of the details of his story. Eventually, he runs out of answers.
Is there something wrong, or?
The deal is I didn't actually have a flat tire this morning. I woke up late and I didn't want to look irresponsible in my interview.
Weber, an experienced interviewer, recognizes the point when more pressure is necessary. But an interviewer without the proper listening skills would probably miss that.
We have no idea what that individual has to tell us and what that individual is not telling us unless we listen. That's where we get to listening being, in my opinion, probably the most critical of all communication skills.
As Sulak explains, there are different ways of listening, some of which don't produce the best results.
And on the other hand, I may be interested in listening to you to find out what you have to say solely for the purpose of supporting what I already think, what my perceptions are, what my beliefs are, and I'm not listening for any other clues.
Sulak just described discriminatory listening, an approach unlikely to produce new information in an interview. Passive listening, which Weber recreates here, will cause the interviewer to miss a subject's nonverbal responses. It's an easy trap to fall into when one pays more attention to taking notes than to observing the subject. The best approach is called empathetic listening. The interviewer who masters the skill won't miss much.
He's listening to that subject, he's listening to the words, he's listening to the tone. He's watching the body language of that individual. And very, very heavy concentration in these areas because he's trying to analyze what this person is telling him. And many times, most importantly, what that individual is not telling him.
The empathetic listener observes but doesn't stare and listens to all of the subject's responses.
Every word. Think of a statement as a crime scene. And you wouldn't say that, well, I'll just process this part of the room and I'm not going to worry about that part. Because over there may be one particular piece of trace evidence that will be the most telling piece of evidence. Well, the same thing is true in a narrative in that it may be that one or two words will reveal a wealth of information. And if you don't pay attention to every word and think about its full meaning and its implication, then you've processed part of a crime scene and you've missed part of it. So every word is important from beginning to the end, I believe.
Now that we know what to watch for, let's proceed through a theoretical interview. Before you do anything else, always do your homework. Research the circumstances of the case and familiarize yourself with the subject's background. A lack of preparation makes the interviewer look sloppy and unprofessional, and Sulak believes it may be the cause of missing important information.
The more that you know about your subject, the more you know about your subject material, the better prepared you are, then the better able you are, in many cases, to recognize these clues to what I call sensitivities, as opposed to deception.
While it may not seem that important, picking the right setting is crucial. Choose a neutral, quiet place. The interview should be held in private, yet the subject should always feel free to leave at any time. Never lock the door.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Carl.
Remove any barriers between you and the subject. This will allow you to better observe their body language.
If you and I don't establish some sort of connection, if we don't establish a rapport, if you and I are not cooperating, then effective communication is not going to be achieved.
Rapport is the level of trust and confidence that exists between the interviewer and the subject. Without it, you probably will have a hard time getting information. To establish good rapport with the subject, there are several things you can do. First, there's your demeanor. Never be judgmental. Subjects are likely to be uncooperative if they sense condemnation. And always remain objective. Be empathetic, not sympathetic.
An interviewer, an effective interviewer who becomes sympathetic then runs the risk of becoming emotionally involved. If I feel your pain, how can I approach the interview objectively?
One of the easiest ways of showing you're objective and empathetic is through eye contact.
You and I can become engaged in a conversation and I can listen to you, but I can be thinking about the golf game later on, and what you have to say is really not that important to me. I mean, you're not that important a person. I may perceive that to be the case. And often we have conversations with people and we know that their minds are wandering. One way we know that is they don't make good eye contact.
Of course, too much eye contact can be equally offensive. The subject may feel intimidated if the interviewer stares.
Too much eye contact is bad. 50 to 60%, 60 to 65% eye contact is good eye contact.
Factors that inhibit rapport are called contaminants. Contaminants are common mistakes made by interviewers which, rather than facilitating good rapport, prevent it. Physical appearance is at the top of the